Hey, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Isaac.
This is BrainShake, and today we have our guest Curtis.
Hello.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Bureaux.
Bureaux.
It's like a French desk.
Awesome. Curtis Bureaux. And Curtis, he's done 2 years of astrophysics at St. Mary's. Is that right?
Correct.
And now he's in computer science at St. Mary's as well.
Very fancy.
Yeah. And he's agreed to come on the podcast today, and we're going to talk about spacey things. So do you have anything you want to say to start off?
Personally, I would consider myself a space enthusiast, much like yourself. I'm that guy at the party who's drunkenly talking about various things in space, and the 2 years at St. Mary's is going to help with this, but it's all going to be fun.
I'm quite familiar as well with talking about space and spacey things at parties. That's why I started this, so I can stop annoying people at parties, and people that want to check it out can just watch this video.
I'm getting more familiar now, being friends with you.
Yeah. All right. So, Curtis.
Yes.
That sounded super formal. I'm gonna ask a very intense question.
Mr. Curtis.
Mr. Curtis Bureaux, when did you first become interested in space?
Space has always been there, man. It's always been an interesting topic of mine. I really fell in love with space before I came to St. Mary's. I spent an entire summer just falling in love with Neil deGrasse's Cosmos. There was his lectures online,
right?
And it was one of those rabbit holes that once you start going down, you can't get out of.
Stopping. Yeah. Awesome. Did you find in your earlier years you had a leaning towards science, or was that something that arose later?
I've always enjoyed science, but in high school I graduated with a business certificate because I thought I'd go to business school. I was going to study accounting. I was going to be a corporate man.
Yeah.
But that quickly dissolved as soon as I finished my first year of college, and I was like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
So I took a year off. I fell in love with science, especially space, and that's how I went to St. Mary's.
Oh, that's awesome.
Crazy turn, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big 180-degree turn.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'll have some questions here. Do you believe in parallel universes, and why?
Dude, we're jumping right into this.
Yeah, very much so.
So parallel universes, in the sense that, like, for every waking second, I could either, take a drink, pour a drink, punch Brandon in the face, and then there's like a different universe instantly created for each one of those paths.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting.
I'm leaning towards not thinking that's a real thing, just for the simple fact that it would be an insurmountable amount of possibilities where everything goes down.
And I think another way to look at it would be in terms of the multiverse.
And that's the other side of the coin.
Yeah, so I think we'll talk about the multiverse a bit later.
So
that's a big topic to tackle.
Kind of like constants and variables.
Yeah, so we'll get back to the multiverse.
Yes.
And that could be interesting.
Definitely.
I'm a much bigger contender for that.
All right. What area of astrophysics interests you the most?
So, I enjoy feeling small.
Right.
So the sheer vastness of space kind of really drew me in at first, because it's one of the only subjects that really kind of like makes my mind numb.
Right.
Trying to somehow fathom how fucking huge. Am I allowed to swear?
Oh yeah, you're allowed to swear. It's fine.
You can swear.
How freaking huge space is.
Yeah.
Because the human brain is so bad at trying to picture it.
Yeah, we're easier with things that have a start and an end.
Yeah,
and it's all linear.
It's almost kind of peaceful having that unknowing.
The mystery of it is kind of enthralling.
And I mean, for me, it's kind of like the other side of the coin. Like, I'm afraid of big spaces, which intrigues me as well. Like, that's why I play like video games like Prey that are like very scary and very like things go wrong, because it's interesting to me.
I think the cool thing about science too is, for as small as we are in comparison to the cosmos, we're equally as large in comparison to atoms and quarks and all these molecular things as well. So it's like you have both contrasts. We're equally small and equally large.
We are.
Depending on how you look at it.
We're right in the middle.
Yeah, because of our subjective point of view.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure you've heard of Carl Sagan's famous quote about the pale blue
Oh, I
dot.
love it. I listen to that at least once a month.
Yeah.
You actually introduced me to that, I think.
Did I send it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just like, hey, check this out. I was like, sure.
Because we're literally just walking sacks of meat on the little speck of dust.
Yeah, it's so weird to think of it that way.
It really takes an image that otherwise would have just been in the earth as a little blue dot and like a ray of light, which is beautiful in and of itself, especially for the time where, you know, they didn't really have many images like that. But then Carl, to really put that into perspective, it's like how small we really are to be warring over little fractions of a fraction of this little dot in the solar system and a galaxy. And
Right.
I don't know.
He made it tangible.
Yeah. He made it. Yeah, and I think that's what poetry and art can do for people. It can help translate some of these more, you know, meticulous details of the world and of science into kind of ways that we can just understand and experience.
It brings rhyme and reason to the more scientific side of things.
Yeah.
To make it more easily digestible for the common folk.
Which is why Carl and Neil and people like that are so important, I think.
The communicators of science do. We need them.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
So, I get. Well, you could ask.
I guess what was like, I'm more so like going into your program,
Mm-hmm.
what was, were you extremely excited being able to go and like learn more about space? Like, was it something that was like, what made you, I guess, more so get out of the program that you were in general at first?
What made you get into it or get out of it?
Get out of it, because you said you were going into computer science.
Yeah.
What made you drift more towards that than staying in astrophysics?
Well, let's talk about, I guess, why I got into it first. It's
Exactly. Yeah, because it's kind of like a two-edged question.
Yeah. Why I got into it though is it's kind of weird because when I was falling in love with science and space.
Right.
It was weird because I always kind of thought that it wasn't kind of a real thing because I come from a background where I don't know, people don't really talk about this sort of thing.
Exactly.
Not that they don't believe in it, just that it's never spoken about.
Yeah.
So I was slowly figuring out that other people are really into this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then once I found out that a place so close to, I'm from the valley myself.
Okay.
So once I found out there was some place so close to home that people were so passionate about this, I had to go and be around these people.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've never I haven't lost the love for space and astronomy.
No.
But the way in which it was communicated to the students at St. Mary's was not a way that I was super jazzed about.
Right.
Let's just put it that way.
It's kind of the same thing that I'm going through exactly right now.
Yeah.
It's funny because what you're saying, what you went through, it's almost like putting words in my mouth with me and Brandon's. This whole thing that we're doing here. It's very.
Was it the way in which they taught it, or maybe just the structure of the career path, or?
The career path, not so much, because once you graduate with a degree like that, you're guaranteed a job.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily in your field, but you're super employable.
Right.
Exactly.
But the way in which it was taught, we were taking courses such as vibration waves and optics that was entirely structured off of differential equations. But waves and optics was offered in the first semester, DE was offered in the second semester, so we were being taught, we were being forced to learn something in a language we had yet to learn.
Okay.
Oh, right.
So that was one small example of many.
Just kind of.
That must have been very tough.
Order
tough,
courses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's more so I feel like they're kind of going off the bend with what they're supposed to be teaching. Like they're kind of like straying away from what the course is actually, or the program is actually about, which is unfortunate. But I still really much enjoy therapeutic recreation, various different things. Like I love helping people.
Yeah,
definitely.
So
I think the thing with school is
I also learn
everything's kind of compartmentalized in a certain way, which can be good as far as getting people through school and.
I also have such a weird learning style. It just doesn't fit university.
I always tell people I came to St. Mary's for the education, but I stayed for the experience.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
the people I've met and the opportunities I've had going to this school are just I can't even explain in words.
I think
Exactly.
that's the most valuable thing. I think it's the people you meet and the connections you make. Because as far as university goes, and I mean, it means a lot to have a degree in a specialized area.
Right.
But as far as the internet and providing all these free online courses from all these different universities, the value of a university degree is going down while the cost is going up. And so they're not exactly congruent anymore. So
Because where is it? Stanford that offers almost every single one of their lectures online for free?
potentially, I know
So
that
it's one of those big
even
universities.
Harvard offers some free courses, and I know Stanford, if you're below a certain income level, if you get accepted to the university, it's free.
Oh wow, yeah, that's
So
awesome.
That's pretty good.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Good on you, Stanford.
Yeah, and it's interesting because universities used to be that way. Like they used to be very accessible, and then they just become more and more expensive.
Yeah.
But the movement to try to get them to be more accessible, I think, is starting to grow. So that's good. I mean, now this is kind of a simple question compared to what we've been talking to. But what is consciousness?
What is consciousness?
It's a complex
That
question.
is a good question.
Yeah.
It's hard to even tap into that because I was actually talking to someone the other day who let me see if I can articulate what he was saying. It's tricky.
Yeah.
For a human to be able to understand their own brain, their brain would have to be too simple for them to understand their own brain.
Right.
Exactly.
You would need a bigger brain
It's
to
very-
understand the smaller brain.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
So I feel as if we are a long way from understanding what consciousness is.
100%. I think.
I think. Yeah.
But there's also many ways of explaining consciousness. I feel like there's very many answers to that one question.
I think it almost depends on your field of study and where you come from in life on how you view
Exactly.
the act of being self-aware.
Yeah.
For
Your
some people,
perspective.
it goes to the soul. Maybe if you're more scientifically inclined, you might call it the sum of the parts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of the parts of your brain. There's this thing that's greater than them,
Right.
than they could be by themselves,
Mhm.
and it emerges out of that somehow. But I mean, it hasn't been defined absolutely, and it's actually a big question right
Yeah,
now.
and there's many
that
different
people are trying to
beliefs
define.
on consciousness
Oh.
too for many people.
What it is to begin
Like,
with.
yeah.
Some people don't think it's restricted to the inside of your brain
Yeah.
and in your mind.
Some people think it's religious. Some people think it's
Because what would happen then if I were to if I were able to map your brain
Yeah.
and each and every neuron and built a replica of that and was able to simulate it in a computer, would it be you?
Would it be me? And my argument would be no, because it would mimic consciousness. But how could it be me if I'm emergent out of these millions of years of organic evolution, right?
But it's an exact map of the processor in your body.
But is it made up of the same materials? They wouldn't.
Does it have to be made of the same materials if at the end of the day it's just little connections, little switches, little ones and zeros?
that's.
But is it just ones and zeros? Is the question.
It's so
is
funny.
DNA somehow ones and zeros, or maybe is it more complex than that?
It's funny that you say that because there's a game that came out a while ago called Soma, which
Yeah.
is literally based on the concept of neural mapping,
Okay.
and it's like basically you're going through because you're like underwater essentially, like the world was like destroyed and they had to go like all underwater, and you get your brain neural mapped like, and it gets revived after years because the real you actually died, but you got your brain scanned and took a picture of all your neural mapping. So someone took a picture and they put it into a robot. So you woke up in this whole world of like things that were just like trying to get you and kill you and stuff, and you get neural mapped I think twice throughout the game, and it's like they're trying to get you onto this whole station that's just transmitting data. That's
Right.
basically you just live in this data essentially.
Okay, but even if you could replicate the brain and then that brain was self-aware, whether it's in a virtual world or the real world, it's still not you.
Right.
It's just an exact copy of you.
But the thing is also too.
Like I'm still okay. Say they make it while I'm still alive. I don't suddenly jump into that head.
But the thing
I'm
is
still
though,
here.
when he gets neural mapped each time, it's his memory. It's set with his memory between. So before everything happened,
Yeah.
So each time he gets neural mapped, it's literally just starting over.
Like they reset him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
essentially.
Well, I would argue that for an instantaneous second, as soon as that other organism that had the map of your brain,
Right.
it would be you for a second, but
Yeah, I
then
think
you
so.
guys would deviate
Diverge.
because you guys would start having different.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Different
And I agree with that, but I guess to the extent that it would still be a copy of me because I'm still going to be in here.
Mhm.
Right.
I'm not going to suddenly appear over there, which
Mhm.
right. So I think, and then how do you really know that thing is self-aware? We can't even test to be sure that we are self-aware.
Right.
We only know we are because we experience it. I think, therefore I am. But as far as simulation of consciousness, how do we know that thing is self-aware or not?
So if we take the mapping you and putting you inside of a computer out of the question,
Right.
what if I took the map of your brain and rewired my brain to have the exact same mapping?
Right.
Am I you?
I would say you're an exact copy of me.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, our paths will diverge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. That's such an interesting concept. It's so weird, like, because I know I keep like bringing up like a lot of video games and stuff, but it's just like the things that we're talking about are so involved with what I
that's
play.
fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's
awesome.
it's very interesting.
Well, here's the way I would think of it. It's like, say it's a simulated version. It's like, let's say my brain is this cup. And if you look at it, it's
Right.
well, let's pretend there's no water. So this is the simulated me, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, it looks like a cup. It is a cup. But if it doesn't have water in it, let's say the water is self-awareness or consciousness or whatever.
Right.
It's like, let's say that water is super transparent. You can't even tell it's there. But it's still something, and it's filling up that cup. That's a far out analogy. But
Yeah.
what I'm trying to get at is, it still looks like the exact same cup, whether there's water in it or not,
Yeah.
especially from this view.
Right.
And so to be able to dig into the cup and see if it's self-aware,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to dig into the brain and see if it's self-aware, I don't know if
Right.
we're capable of doing that.
Yeah.
If we accept for the fact that another copy of your brain would be self-aware, let me ask you this. Would you say you're the same person as you were 7 years ago?
No.
So, but at which point between 7 years ago and now did you become a different person?
Well, I would say it's kind of like anything. It's like that a star is not the same star it was a million years ago.
That's
So,
But from day to day, it's the same star. It's just gradually changing.
so it's almost like you're.
A cell at a time,
Yeah,
a piece at a
it's
time.
But if you're comparing without even the middle, right, of the changing,
Yeah.
it's almost like you're carving copies of yourself. in a way,
there's a
right?
segue here,
Yeah.
though. So in evolution, my child is the same species as me, but 1,000 generations from now, it won't be the same species.
Exactly.
So once I make an exact copy of you, I would argue that it would be the same person. It would be you. You'd be able to talk to yourself
Right.
for, let's just say, for like an X amount of time for like
It would gradually start to diverge.
I wouldn't think it would be instant. I think you guys would be the same person for the next like couple of years before you guys actually became
Well, I think
different.
experiences play a huge role in our identity as well.
Yeah,
It's like
habitat.
let's say DNA is the clay. Experience is how we get molded, right?
Exactly.
So
nature versus nurture.
Yeah, and so the base material is still there, and it still plays a huge role in how you can be molded. But the environment is what molds you, and so it's a big interaction.
If you could upload your brain into a computer and live any fantasy you like, would you do it?
And does that mean I leave my body and I'm now in this virtual world?
Yes.
Can I do it just before I die?
Yes.
Or do I have to do it now?
Well, I would assume at any point in time in your life.
Yeah.
I would do it right before I die.
Okay.
And we couldn't know 100% for sure that I would actually be aware in that world.
Mhm.
But if it seemed like I would be and there was a chance, I would try it. I guess the true test would be to send someone there and then send them back
Ooh.
and be
Right.
like, hey, do you remember that?
That's
And that's how
actually
you would know.
That's actually segueing into a question I was going to ask, but I'll answer this first. Yes, I think I would do it because I'm so interested in that type of thing that my brain would not hold me back from doing it, no matter what cost.
So you do it right now, and you do it when you're about to die.
I would do it
now.
I would
do it
do
right
it.
before I die.
I wouldn't do it right now.
I
would
think
do
I'd
it
wait
when
too.
I would do it when I'm like,
Unless I can come back from it,
yeah.
then I could do it.
I would
anytime.
wait for my whole experiences of being able to do things in life to kind of like slow down. And once I get into like a midlife crisis, I would do it.
There's an episode of Black Mirror that actually is around this subject.
Yeah.
And there's these two girls, and I think they fall in love and stuff. And then one of them, when they die, she stays in the virtual world,
Yeah.
but the other one, spoiler alert, doesn't, because she decides that she would rather die the natural way.
Right.
And that's unnatural to go on. If you could live forever, would you guys want to live forever?
Do I continue aging, or what point do I stop aging?
You can freeze aging. So
I could be 25 and
your
just...
telomeres stop shrinking
Yeah.
down, and you can maintain the same organic age.
Could I be the only person who had this ability of immortality? Because it'd be tough to see all your life.
Realistically, no. But I don't know. Let's say for this experiment, you're the only one who gets to do it.
Okay.
I think I would.
Yeah.
It'd be very tough to see my loved ones, my family, grow old and die.
Yeah.
But once I get past that portion, I think I would become desensitized to it.
Yeah.
And then...
I mean, you could still die if you got shot or something.
Oh, okay.
But you don't age.
My
You're not
curiosity.
gonna die from any age-related
My
disease.
curiosity would outweigh
'Cause I would
any
wanna,
of that.
Yeah.
I would do it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would.
So the whole idea of uploading yourself to a computer ties back to something called a matryoshaka brain.
Okay.
And it's where a Type 3 civilization harnesses all the power from a star to form a supercomputer
Right.
that would keep running indefinitely until the star ends. And all the intelligent life forms of this planet would upload themselves to a computer and then live out any fantasy they want for their entire life. So you become immortal, you become a machine, and then but once you get in, you might even think that you're still in a human body. Like the simulation
Right.
is so real.
Well, that comes back to the argument that people like Elon Musk make. Are we already in a simulation?
Mhm.
Which we discussed in our first podcast.
That was my question. Was do you think in any kind of way that we're in a simulation? I mean, it's kind of like a two-end question, because sometimes I know myself, I don't think that we are at times, but then at other times, it's just like, am I in the Truman Show, or what? Like, what's
Exactly.
going on, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think?
What's your thoughts on
Yeah.
Well, if we look at the argument behind it,
Right.
and the argument is that a civilization has gotten so advanced that they start making simulations of universes, and if they can simulate one, then they can simulate thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of these.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So how likely is that civilization that gets to that point to be the first person to make the simulations, or we're in one of those millions of simulations? It's 1 to a million ratio, whatever.
If you think of it that way. And so Elon Musk's argument is that probability is that we are in a simulation.
Right.
My argument is that there's more base realities than simulated ones.
Mm-hmm.
And my argument for that is the base reality comes first. And in my belief, the universe is infinite. And if the universe is infinite, there's infinite base realities.
Mhm.
And so automatically there's going to be more base realities than simulations, because some of these base realities might never even create a simulation.
But did you know that some infinities are bigger than other infinities?
True, because I guess you're saying like over time that I see what you're saying, yeah.
Because
So which infinity is bigger, the base reality infinity or the simulated infinity?
Exactly.
Mhm.
The simulated one could be bigger because, like you say, a simulation could be created multiple times.
Mhm.
And then maybe even those simulations can create simulations within themselves.
Yeah.
So then there's that whole branching of different realities that could come from that, which is kind of mind-blowing to think about.
Yeah.
It's tough to say. I would argue we're not. I mean, I've already answered this, so I won't go into much detail.
Uh-huh.
My argument is we're not simulated by some alien civilization. It's possible, but I don't think we are. I just think that we're all simulated in our own heads.
Yeah.
Because that's a scientific fact. Everything's still real, but it's all interpretations.
So to answer the question, I don't think we are, because I don't think
Okay.
someone has gotten to the point in which they have the computing power to do that.
Right.
Because I feel as
Right.
if you would need too much computing power
But-
to do
Exactly.
such a thing.
But if the time scale of the universe was infinite, then there would have been infinite time for that to have happened.
Mhm.
Well, then this comes also down to the Fermi paradox, because are they able to get to a point in which they're able to build such a computer, or does the advanced civilization kill themselves before they get to that point?
Right. Most of them probably die out before they get to that
Exactly, yeah. Speaking of infinite universe, or infinite, space being infinite, one of my friends, shout out to, I guess, Lieutenant Tubby on PS4. I have a couple of friends that were providing really great questions for us to answer. So his first question that he asked was, with space being infinite, and of course it's
a presumption.
Yeah.
One I would agree with, but
yeah, how do we know there aren't more dimensions like this? Some people are able to see things that haven't happened yet in their dreams. What if that's just a glimpse into another dimension? Maybe this is how we were even able to come up with the idea of dimensions, because it's been going on for so long. Maybe our brain is starting to become familiar with, and that's why we can even come up with these ideas.
So that's a long-winded question, but I think what he's trying to say is, what if our brain's kind of an antenna that can access these other dimensions somehow when we sleep?
Yeah.
Because of the DMT release or something like that?
Yeah, maybe.
I wouldn't rule out the possibility.
Yeah, I
do think that's leaning towards the supernatural side.
Yeah.
But I don't think you could say for 100% that is impossible.
Exactly.
I think I'm more of a realist when it comes to dreams. I think it's just a way of your brain to clean itself and reconcile the past events, but I do think it's a valuable tool to have, because if you look into your dreams, keep a dream journal, and analyze what's happening, you can learn a lot about yourself. If you're struggling with a subject or what have you, if you start dreaming about it, you can pick up on the fact that it's important in your life. You should do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
What have you?
Yeah, I would definitely say. I like the idea of thinking about this, like, oh, maybe we somehow leave our bodies in our dreams or through psychedelic experience or whatever. I think we definitely have the illusion of that happening a lot of the time, but I don't think we actually literally leave our bodies. But I think the reason why it's so convincing is because your experience is in your head.
Yeah.
And so if your brain chemicals are changing in some kind of way, your reality from your perspective could very well change quite drastically.
Yeah.
But on the outside of your brain, it's remaining virtually the same.
It's funny that that this question came up, because I hadn't I just looked at these questions today, so I haven't really had much time to think about it. But I never even thought of it in that kind of way, and I'm not very much into supernatural things myself. Like, I'm not into that type of belief, but.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a possibility in some kind of way, like. But I think for me, if I'm going to answer the question, I think it's more so, like you said, it's based upon our experiences, and it's our way for our mind to unwind in that kind of way and process things.
It's remember, Occam's razor, the simplest solution is usually the right one.
Yeah.
So if there's one answer that's saying, we transcend in this other dimension, and one that says you're thinking about past thoughts.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think it's a cool thing to think of. It's fun. What if
definitely,
and I think a huge part of science that sometimes I think it's neglected, especially sometimes by older scientists kind of stuck in their ways, can be that it's really important to kind of waltz with these far out thoughts.
Exactly.
As long as you reel yourself back in and don't accept it as fact.
Don't get lost out there.
A cool idea. Don't get lost out there. But that's how you come up with a new hypothesis, and that's what science comes from.
Yeah.
Is someone thinking outside of the box. Now, 99 million times out of 100 million times, you're going to be off. But every once in a while, someone might land closer to the truth, and then they can go back, they can write it down, and if they can back it up with some evidence.
That's also the thing about science too, is it's always evolving. It's if you have a stagnant thing, as I was saying, with an experiment, like, you have to have various different, of course there's various different causalities and stuff like that, and to have an experiment go right in some kind of way, you can't always look at everything as fact in that kind of way. You have to look outside of the box. So
I think part of it, here's the way I would put it, science its foundation is based on reason. Its progress is based on imagination, based on that reason. extrapolating from that reason, or sometimes stepping away from it a little bit.
Because when Einstein was dealing with this whole general relativity stuff, he was using his imagination to fix one of his formulas and inserted a variable that made it all make sense until he realized it couldn't be true. It couldn't work this nicely, and he fudged it, and it was left alone for a while. But what he added to it was the cosmological constant of space accelerating. And he called it his biggest blunder, but it was one of his greatest achievements.
It turned out to be true. The universe is expanding faster than the speed of light, but I got to be careful with that, because that doesn't mean it's actually moving faster than the speed of light. It just means the space between things is... how would you explain that?
It's difficult because, as we've said before, we're two enthusiasts who just love the subject.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But the crux of the matter is that space is accelerating, and over such a large distance. When I say space is accelerating, it's expanding at an accelerated rate.
Yeah.
So at such a large distance. Object A and object B might be relatively moving faster than the speed of light against each other, but it's just the creation of space in between that's...
Right, it's kind of like someone said, it's like if you projected a shadow onto the moon, and then you move that shadow, you could technically get that shadow to move faster than the speed of light, because you could
I've
change.
heard that argument.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean the shadow's literally moving at the speed of light. I don't know.
Things can't move faster than the speed of light.
Yes. Yes. They probably can't. Not in this dimension.
But that's what makes intergalactic travel so impossible.
Right.
And that's so when you watch Star Wars, and it says a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, how are there humans in a galaxy outside of the Milky Way?
It's interesting.
Unless it's just another universe in the multiverse.
It
just happens to have the same biological makeup.
If you're looking at constant, I guess we can go into like constants and variables.
And a long, long time ago, in a universe far, far away.
Universe far, 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 infinitely far away.
Yeah.
And then
it just so happens that humans, or something exactly like humans, evolved.
That whole concept interests me. The whole like constants and variables thing, because like. I guess for you guys the best way I could explain it is like constants and variables in I guess universal talk is so we'd be having the same conversation. But the change would be that like we would be wearing a different shirt or the cups would be a different color, or this would be positioned differently. It's very
that's just the parallel universe thing, but the whole multiverse thing, where I thought you were going with the whole constants thing, is that it's another universe with a couple changed
well, pretty much,
numbers.
That's exactly what. Yeah, that's.
So instead of speed of light being 300,000 kilometers an hour or whatever, it's different, and the gravitational constant's different, and would.
Or there's just completely different forces and particles altogether.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Here's one thing. Well, we should probably move on because we took a long time on this.
Let's move on.
But one thing I want to say is a lot of people think of our position and our life and all that as a very special occurrence and like almost miraculous.
An anomaly.
Like how miraculous that we're here. I mean, I don't want to get too into to
me, like,
I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not miraculous. It's just if you have infinite possibilities, life becomes inevitable. Everything becomes inevitable at some point, and we're just that point. But I don't know.
If it is all infinite, I know you're in that.
Yeah, I'm stuck in that. But if it's not,
hard to tell sometimes.
My argument would be like, to me, no matter how you look at it, logic would always point towards an infinite universe. I haven't heard a good argument for a finite universe. Thus yet. That doesn't mean it's not possible.
And I mean, for our world, like Earth, like we still haven't discovered every single thing on this planet.
But you believe in the Big Bang, and we started from one central location.
Our bubble.
Yeah.
But okay, if we call our bubble the universe technically the definition is everything. So we would almost have to change the name of our bubble to be something else other than the universe. or we could just say the universe no longer means everything.
Because our universe is our bubble, the multiverse is all the bubbles.
Right, but what about what's beyond the multiverse?
And that's what I don't like about it. Because
I
where
just
do you
don't like
stop?
the word. I wish we could call our bubble something else instead of universe, because universe should be everything, which would, in my opinion, be infinity.
Yeah. That's.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I might just skip this one. Basically, the Big Bang radiation's cold spot, like if we look way back, there's like this cold spot. They're not really sure why it's there. They hypothesize that maybe it could be because of a collision between another universe. And if they follow up and find evidence for that, it would be the first evidence for a multiverse. But it's just one hypothesis among many. So that's just a recent article that came up. Gravitational waves. Einstein predicted them as ripples in the fabric of space-time. Apparently it opens up like a whole new area in astrophysics and how you can detect black holes and that kind of thing. Have you guys looked into this that much?
I did not have much time to look into it.
That's fine. It's funny you say time, because the closer you get to a black hole, things slow down. Anyway. But yeah, no.
Well, I know I've heard the story behind it of how they discovered it. They turned it on and got the detection within like a couple hours after turning it on, and they didn't think it was real. So they didn't look at the data for a couple weeks. Then once they did, they realized that, oh shit, this is actually like
this is happening.
This is happening.
These signals are going out a lot.
And apparently it was so desensitizing, the fact that they had the data for so long, that once they actually discovered it 100%, they're like, it wasn't a big deal at that point in time.
Right.
Yeah.
But as for how it's going to affect us in the future, it's tough because it's so difficult to even detect it in the first place and get accurate readings.
Right.
That I don't see it as being a super reliable way of
We also don't really have the technology, I feel like, yet to be able to have accurate representations of it, I feel like, or of being able to detect or find black holes majorly, like, or what we can do.
That's kind of the cool thing about gravitational waves, is that it allows them to have more. I mean, like you say though, like maybe it's not as exact as it would be.
Yeah,
it's still pretty exact though. But what are you saying? It's hard to detect black holes?
Yeah, like majorly, like, and what we can do with that too. Like, it's hard to know, because we only know from like concepts, don't we? Like of what we can do with a black hole.
Well, in the center of our galaxy, there's a supermassive black hole.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I would say there is still a fraction of possibility that they don't exist, but the evidence far outweighs that right now.
But also, like, as far as technology of what we have right now, being able to detect other black holes that are in our galaxy, let's say, if there would be, is that what you're saying with the whole detection of that it may not be like fully accurate?
Well, I feel as if you're touching on the fact that black holes might not exist.
I think they would. I think they do. I think black holes do exist. But I think as far as being able to do anything with it right now.
Well, as far as gravitational waves, do you think that they help us, or were you saying that maybe they're not as great as?
Oh, they 100%. They help us 100%.
Okay.
I just don't know how much they're going to help us in the future.
That's fair.
Also, black holes totally exist.
Yeah. Oh no, I was never saying that black holes don't exist.
I've read that there's some big scientists and whatever that think that it's not 100%, but then again, nothing ever is 100%. So I think all the evidence.
Well, we've been talking about it for years now, so I think that it's something that is definitely substantial.
And what happens beyond the event horizon? That's a whole other story.
But they have observations of the center of our galaxy of stars moving at such a velocity around literally a black point. There's no light emitting from it.
That's interesting. That's very
it's a black hole now. With the physics behind it, maybe that will change over time. But I think it's
because they can calculate the mass of this unknown object by how fast the objects are moving.
So black holes definitely exist.
Wasn't it Interstellar that kind of had the best representation of a black hole, or visually?
I think like the visual physics model apparently was really accurate, and actually
it's like the most accurate of our time.
Learn more.
And the general relativity band and all of
That's interesting.
But I mean, once Matthew McConaughey got into the black hole, I'm not sure that's how it works.
Yeah, I don't know.
But there is a theory that within every black hole is another universe.
I like that.
Then
that sparks my interest.
Here's a question for you, because this is something that is askew for a lot of people. On the topic of aliens, I guess, if we're gonna go that way, but do you think that aliens are more so just like another version of us, or do you think it's like
definitely not
weird looking things, or do you think that it's like...
I don't think aliens are blank. I think aliens are... I mean, I hate to keep coming back to infinity.
No, of course.
But for me, everything in space revolves around that. If you're trying to answer what aliens look like, there's probably infinite different ways aliens could look.
Because to me, I think if we don't know our own Earth fully and what is in our water, because like most of the Earth is water, and we have and pretty much like 99% of it hasn't been discovered by human eyes. So like our own eyes. So like, we don't even know everything that's on this planet.
As far as
how can we know what's everything that's in space?
Well, we have nothing to base it off of.
Right.
First of all, are they carbon-based life forms? Do they have DNA?
Yeah,
those are the questions we'd have to ask first.
Exactly.
If they are carbon-based and have DNA, then we can say, okay, well, here's the realm of possibilities we're working with.
I think
if there's a life form outside of that, maybe they're even technologically based.
Yeah.
Then the possibilities are endless.
I think things are so massive that it's hard not to believe that there are other things out there.
I think
sure.
I would say it's impossible that there isn't aliens somewhere in the universe.
But if we look where we're living on a rock with an atmosphere and water and land, and we can only assume that the best chance to find other life is around a similar environment, we can see the most successful traits on our planet and make assumptions on what other aliens would look like.
What they could look like. But even different periods of Earth had very different looking animals.
Totally.
And there's just so many different random possibilities that occur.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, life will squeeze into any little crack that it can get into. Type of thing.
Exactly.
Like, it will fulfill. If there's a food source not being used, a species will evolve to use that because that will advance their survival.
It's interesting.
And so we're just one stem of this grand tree of life.
Exactly.
And so every tree of life on any planet is probably going to look a little bit differently based on just the little subtle changes in atmosphere and things like that.
Right.
But it's still going to probably be within the realm of somewhat similarity.
Because if you're on land, you probably move somehow. If you're in the water, you swim. If you're in the air, you fly.
Yeah.
And also, almost all the species on Earth have some sort of symmetry with them too.
Exactly.
So you can expect aliens to have some sort of symmetry. Plus, we orbit around a star. We assume them to be orbiting around a star as well. There's going to be eyesight.
Right.
There's going to be a way to consume nutrients, whether it be through absorption or eating or...
I mean, there's a possibility that life's more common on moons than it is on planets as well, because there's probably a lot more moons than there are planets.
Which is a really good point.
Yeah. So and then it's like, I don't know, not every planet orbits to have different seasons. Maybe life's only possible on one ring around a planet, and everywhere else is super extreme, cold or hot.
And are you talking about like the intelligent life being around a moon, or
I think life in general. As far as intelligent life, I think anywhere where there is some kind of life, intelligent life becomes a possibility over a long enough timeline. But maybe intelligent life isn't as inevitable as we think.
Because intelligent life is also, it's kind of a skew thing to say, because intelligence
subjective.
Is based, it's subjective, right? Because like, let's say if there's something that is on a planet that wouldn't be seen as intelligent to us, there will be other things that are more intelligent or most intelligent.
I guess when I think of an intelligent alien species, it basically means they have technology of some sort.
Yeah, or also more self-aware as well.
If you judge a fish on how well it can climb a tree, it'll think it's dumb all its life.
Right.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I think we can get to a point where we can say that they're intelligent if they know science.
Yeah.
That's a good point, yeah.
That's
I can agree with that. Well, it's interesting we're talking about like where life could come from and stuff like that, because TRAPPIST-1, which is 40 light years away from our solar system, they found 7 Earth-sized planets, and at least a few of them are in the Goldilocks zone of their star. And so this was a big discovery, because they didn't expect to find that many Earth-sized planets around one star, let alone so close to our solar system. So maybe Earth-like planets are far more common than we've ever expected. So
I remember hearing about like super Earths or like various different like other like that was just the names that they had for them. Like
it's like
but
rocky planets that are bigger than Earth in their Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, and they think they're habitable in certain ways, and some of them they know.
There's a possibility that they're habitable.
Yeah.
We can't guarantee any of them are habitable 100% yet. The James Webb Telescope will help us with that.
Yeah.
Because it will be able to recognize different biosignatures, I think, emerging from the light and stuff.
I think we should just... I think we're meant to go and travel in space. Like, I think we should be doing more right now. I think
it's the inevitable next step.
Because I think humans, and, you know, definitely that's my opinion, of course, it's the way that I view things, but I see humans as pioneers. I think that we should be doing things. We should be trying to discover new things and adventure and all that stuff. And I think even the possibility of being in space or going to travel to another planet is so amazing to me.
I think it's almost equivalent to before humans ever built boats. Maybe they had rafts, and we're like sending these rafts into space, and it's like, you know, it's really dangerous right now. We don't have it perfected. We might go and discover other continents, aka exoplanets.
It's funny that you say that.
It's kind of similar. We're in a similar transition from when humans started to explore the oceans.
Space is seen as international waters.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's a naval type thing, right?
Yeah, and there's going to be a similar parallel.
Yeah.
And who knows are we going to be able to do this peacefully, or is it going to turn into another game of divide and conquer?
Yeah.
Or
are we going to be able to do it at all?
Exactly.
That's a huge question.
Are we going to? Are enough people going to get behind space exploration that we're going to be able to actually get there?
I think relating to the whole question that we asked earlier of trying to, if you could live forever in that kind of way, would you do it? The reason why I want to do this, I want to see if that could happen. You know, if we could create the technology to be able to travel to different places and do things that we wouldn't normally be able to do.
Yeah, because I feel as if Mars is very achievable.
Oh, of course.
And definitely. I would love to see us go out to one of the moons of Jupiter, Europa, and drill down into the ocean and see if there's life there.
Or Titan. Around Saturn, I think.
Mm-hmm. Two very hot topic places to go.
So Titan, and there's a couple other ones that even have a slim possibility of life being underneath these huge sheets of ice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think our solar system is very doable.
Right.
But as soon as we venture out past that, there's so many complications.
A lot more variables. And I think right now it's definitely not that... going to an exoplanet obviously isn't feasible right now. But if technology continues to advance at such a fast rate and an accelerating rate, I could see our grandchildren going to visit exoplanets, or at least sending the satellites that are going.
I think so too.
Going there. I mean, Stephen Hawking and some others have come up with this idea of just sending these little teeny mini satellites with solar sails and pointing lasers at them to project them to these exoplanets.
Right.
And then they could get them going really fast, because in space there's no air resistance. So once you get it going, it's going to keep going the same speed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I love the idea of traveling to other exoplanets, and I want us to do it so bad, but why isn't the entire, galaxy just overrun with intelligent life and hopping from planet to planet?
Right.
And it makes me want to believe the whole the candle theory, the light bulb theory, or the flash of light theory, where intelligent life springs up into existence, but dies before it's able to really expand further.
Like it's a glitch in the system rather than a sort of fundamental force.
It's a blip, because we've been around for 50,000 years, intelligently, kicking ass on Earth.
Yeah.
And if we
agriculture's been around for maybe just over 10,000 years, maybe 20,000.
Exactly.
So
and if we're around for another 50,000 years, let's just say a nice healthy chunk of 100,000 years.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about the age of our galaxy, because Earth is 4.6 billion years old.
Right.
Already we're a fraction of the age of our Earth. And if the galaxy is kind of 10 billion years old, let's just give it a bunch of time, then we are, and if we look at the plane of our galaxy, then we're just a little blip on it. And then if you look at all the other intelligent life throughout the galaxy, there's blips everywhere.
Yeah.
And
it is a weird thing, because you would think, the galaxy would be overrun with alien life by now, because it would just expand, because that's what life does, it expands. I think one theory that I'm kind of enthralled with is maybe we're kind of like the first on the block, meaning that there's more stars to be formed. I think at least within the Milky Way than have been formed or something like that, and so maybe we're the early arrival of life, and maybe we're going to be the ones going around abducting people and shit, right?
And I think
that's a possibility. It seems weird that would be the case.
But I think the thing is about humans that a lot of people, I guess, don't really like, and the reason why a lot of people don't really like the human race, or I guess their own species at
Haters.
times, is because of the fact of the history behind what we've done, or to our own human race is taking over things, is taking things as our own when it's not our place to do that.
That's the nature of life.
Yeah, and I think. Yeah, and that's survival. It's not bad.
I think once you get to a certain level of self-awareness, you can begin to change that curve. But to look back in shame, it doesn't do us any good, because we've literally been sprung out of this jungle of trying to kill or be killed. And we're wired to survive. We're not wired to be nice.
Exactly.
Except for recently, empathy and communities and stuff have allowed us to create civilization. That kind of sense of being there for one another and tribalism has allowed this growth. And that right now we have all these microcosms of what society could be. And they're called nations. They're all little different experiments on how we can run civilization.
And I think
the ones that really thrive the most are the ones where we support each other, we respect science, and we encourage innovation. And
that's the road we're heading down right now.
Yeah.
And whenever we watch movies about aliens, it's always about them coming to try and steal something from us, and it ties back to we're just portraying what we've done to other people over the years.
Exactly.
And I don't think that's what it would be like if we were to come in contact
I think
with
if a species advances to that level, I almost presume that they at least develop a certain integral sense of empathy. You almost have to be sustainable long enough.
I almost don't like this is why I like I've been recently getting into the Mass Effect series, and the reason why I like that series in a way is because it's taken from the perspective of we've already met contact with different aliens and races.
Is it called Andromeda? Mass Effect
Andromeda.
So is the basis
that's
of
the newest one.
I haven't looked into it, but is the basis of it? It's like when the Milky Way and Andromeda
basically
come into contact. Aliens from there.
Your character travels in cryostasis for 600 years after the first events of the first 3 games.
Okay.
And you travel out of the Milky Way. It's the first time you've ever traveled out of the Milky Way into Andromeda.
So it's leaving the galaxy to go to the one.
Yeah, Andromeda.
Okay.
I don't know if it's Andromeda or Andromeda, but anyway.
Andromeda? It's Andromeda.
Yeah, Andromeda, okay. So you're basically doing that, and the whole purpose of the game is to go and find out different planets and what they're about and all that stuff. And of course...
So have they discovered everything in the Milky Way already?
I'm guessing, yeah. I haven't seen the other games, right? So I don't know. But basically it's the same type of story where it's like these different hive mind is trying to hurt people in the other game and all that stuff. And it's like I'm trying to derive a little bit more away from that, because they're cool stories and I like them, but I almost like the stories where aliens try and help, and that kind of where people are coming together, because I feel like that's what it would more so be like. And of course there would be other just
Time's
humans
flying.
even.
We should be late.
Yeah,
here's what we should do. That's a really cool conversation.
Yeah, of course.
Though I would argue, why don't they just wait for Andromeda to come to the Milky Way? Because that's going to happen anyway.
I think that might have happened.
I have to say what I want to do just before we move on.
Yeah.
So our closest cousin, the ape.
Yeah.
If you look at the DNA, it's give or take 90% resemblance to our DNA.
Yeah, if not more. Yeah.
If not more. So the smartest ape is as smart as our children. They can finger paint, they can do sign language, what have you. So what if we did a thought experiment and think of advanced civilization that was as smart as we are to apes as they are to us?
Right.
So their children would be Picasso, Mozart, Albert Einstein.
That's funny. That came up in the last podcast we did, and it's it's like their kids are doing astrophysics in grade primary.
Yeah. So who's to say we're even going to be able to communicate with anybody we come in contact with?
And who's to say that they're going to respect us? Because if they can't really relate to us in any way, we're
they'll
just
just
like
see
ants.
us, why are you here?
And as much as we think about things and we're self-aware, to these giant entities with their really complex minds, we could be somewhat insignificant.
Because a squirrel in a forest lives its entire life in a tree, and that's its home.
Yeah.
But we come and tear it down and use it for its resources, and
We
the
don't
squirrel
think of
has squirrel has no idea what's happening. Why would you kill a tree? The tree is all is life.
This is
all
everything.
Yeah.
This is that's true.
That's interesting.
So would aliens not necessarily be mean, but just not really have any empathy towards us because they're so far advanced in comparison?
And the lack of empathy is what I'd be worried about.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
I never really thought of it that way.
So speaking of games,
Okay.
and speaking of simulations earlier, and speaking of virtual reality, do you want to do a segue?
Yeah, sure. So I'm pulling up this article here. That's basically it's based from the concept that games can help with space exploration. So the concept of media and all that stuff. And it's funny. A lot of people that are loved, a lot of like developers that are loved in the game community, like the person that made Doom and Quake and all that stuff. He even himself has went into various different aerospace companies to try and help develop better space travel, and even NASA and the SpaceX program. Like a lot of the concepts that they're taking are from the media.
Yeah, well, like science fiction almost pushes forward some ideas on actual science.
It's basically this article is talking about the perspective that even just because there's violence in video games and stuff like that too, that it still has some type of substance to be able to help people and creating something. Like for example, Mass Effect Andromeda. That's a story that could possibly happen later on. Way later on, of course.
But I think the power of games is not only simulation to actually prepare for missions, but also to inspire the next generation of explorers and engineers.
And I think it's
because there's no limitations in fiction. Like, you can do whatever you want.
Exactly. And I think if you look at 2001: Space Odyssey too, like for example, the technology that was in that, like the whole FaceTime thing that was in it. That wasn't even an existent thing when that was made, and now
it's commonplace.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. But I guess if we're going to tie in, I have a very special surprise to tell you.
Okay.
This box right behind us.
I thought this came with the room, but what is this?
That is a PS4. It's with a little LCD screen in it.
No way.
And right behind that board there, we have a VR system that you're going to try out. So it's funny that we were talking about
before the camera turned on. We were talking about trying VR, and this guy was like, "Man, I've never done it before, but I'd love to do it."
Do you want to get it, Isaac?
Yeah, I'll get some.
I wish we
stuff.
recorded that.
Yeah, it's funny.
Get out.
Yeah, so we thought we would try it out.
There's
I'm so happy right now.
Part of Call of Duty where it's in space.
Yeah, so it's Infinite Warfare, which is, I guess, more of a lackluster game to some people, but it was the best VR that we had for space so far. So,
boys,
on PSN anyway. While we're doing that as well, we'll answer some questions from other people.
I'm a kid in a candy store right now.
So this is what he's seeing right now. He's just in space in a spaceship. It's the Infinite Warfare one, and that's the boy right there.
Dude, that was.
Yeah. Just
How's 25?
good.
It's a high score.
Alright, how's that? How's that?
How was that?
That was so much fun. I'm sweaty, but that was.
Was it good?
That was incredible. Like, I didn't expect this at all, guys. Thank you.
Hey, no problem.
Did you feel like you were there?
Yes, it was. It kind of sucked though, because I initially started the game like this. So in order to stay inside my head, I had to be here.
Right.
I'd see myself behind me back here, but
right.
It felt lifelike. It felt natural. It just, as soon as I got into it, I kind of knew what to do. Like, there was no learning curve. Except for the fog where I was running into things.
Right.
Alright, so
Our camera died.
Main camera died.
Yeah.
GoPro
Is being terrible.
shit the bed. But
Great tech on the VR.
Yeah.
the VR was great.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the main camera's died. We're down to an iPhone.
Yeah.
But we got everything we need anyway.
Yeah.
This is the outro.
Maybe.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you so much. This has been really great, and thank you for
having me on the show.
Definitely,
I really enjoyed it.
Curtis.
Thanks for coming on.
And thank you, I guess, to Volta for
Volta for the space.
Yeah, providing the space
And the water.
It's amazing. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess.
So thanks, Curtis, for coming on. How was the VR experience?
Incredible. It was funny because before this we were talking about how cool it would be to do VR.
Yeah.
Little did I know was behind me the entire shoot.
The elephant in the room, eh?
Yeah.
My first VR experience, it was incredible and I want to do it again.
Awesome.
Definitely. We'll probably. Well, you're always welcome on the show again, and definitely be having some more stuff.
Awesome.
So try to keep the dialogue going in the comments. Let's get a discussion going.
Yeah, definitely. If
Would you have any suggestions for guests in the future?
Yeah, of course.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. Bill Nye. We're not at that level yet, but who knows? Also, do you think we live in a simulation?
I mean,
answer in the comments.
Find out next week on BrainShake.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Subscribe. Like the video.
Or unsubscribe.
Unsubscribe. Unlike.
If you like. Smash that restricted mode button.
Smash it.
All right. Never open space. Press like.
If you've ever seen a star, subscribe and like the video.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Peace.
So, have you heard of the theory that Rick knows he's inside of a television show, and because he's the only character that breaks the fourth wall,
right?
And there's been an instance where he cuts to Rick and Morty in the spaceship, and Rick has said, "Man, it's so nice we found matching clothes that we wear every other day on this random planet." And then Morty says, "Rick, you've said that 3 times already." So the theory is that he kept saying it until the TV show had watched him say it.
Right.
And when he makes up catchy like catchphrases, that's him trying to be more relatable to the audience. And he knows that once he becomes not funny, the show will be canceled and he will die.
That is so cool.
I love that.
And at the end of the second season, at the end of the first episode of the third season, he talks about gotta get that Szechuan sauce. It's gonna be my plot hook for the next 9 seasons.
Yeah.
So now he's locked in his life for the next 9 seasons. And
That's beautiful.
And he says, even if it takes me 97 years, so he just guaranteed himself 97 more years.
I like that theory. That's a good theory. I think that could be true.
It's a.
Oh, so Rick knows he's in a simulated universe. I wonder if Rick knows if we're in a simulated universe.
Because you could extrapolate, one above, one above.
Yeah.
Because when he was actually stuck with those, the Nigerian pirates or whatever, where he was stuck in the simulation, they want to get the formula for dark matter energy or something like that.
Yeah.
He knew right off the bat that he was in a simulation. Plus, he knew he was in a simulation of a simulation. So what's to say that?
I have a theory that maybe we're not even a simulation, but aliens sparked life on our planet as a sort of scientific experiment to see, and they did little different things, pull different levers, so to speak, as far as atmosphere and stuff goes, and maybe we're just one of many alien experiments, and maybe that's why we haven't been contacted by aliens, because they're purposely hiding from us, because they're watching us, because they created us, and extrapolating from that, maybe if we don't stay interesting enough, they'll just end our season.
Did it shit the bed? Just right here, right now. Awesome! That was pretty much at the end, the worst thing that could happen happened.